Acho, is it fair to criticize Bruce Arians for keeping Antonio Brown?
Not fair at all. I love Bruce Arians' stance. I love Bruce Arians' words on this message. Bruce Arians did what I hope so many other coaches would do. Keep it a buck with us. Like he kept it 1,000. He said straight up, we need Antonio Brown to win football games.
Hello.
Period.
Yeah.
Like so many other coaches try to lie and mask behind their words, but Bruce Arians was like, I'm going to be honest with y'all. We need Antonio Brown. What y'all want me to say?
Right.
Bruce Arians is going to get criticized either way, right? You don't have Antonio Brown, you likely get eliminated from the playoffs significantly earlier. Oh. You have Antonio Brown, you likely go further deep into the playoffs. So you either get criticized for keeping Antonio Brown or you get criticized for not making it as far as you should have made it after returning from a Super Bowl. You won last year, you return all 22 starters, and then you don't make it back to a Super Bowl this year. So he's kind of it doesn't matter which way he goes, he is stuck with punishment.
Okay.
So I like Bruce Arians, and I like his approach here because he's like, you know what? I don't really care what y'all got to say. I'm just going to be honest. At the end of the day, Sel, if I commit some sort of crime and the governing bodies, I know, far-fetched.
I don't know you that well. How long have you been? A year and a half on the show? 5 years of life?
If your boy commits some sort of crime and the governing bodies send me to 30 days probation, I'm not going to further that and say, you know what? No, don't do that. How about y'all give me a couple years in jail? Right? The governing body sentenced Antonio Brown to a 3-game suspension.
Yeah.
Why would Bruce Arians add further punishment to that? It's not his job to punish Antonio Brown. It's the governing bodies. It's the NFL, the commissioner, etc. They deemed a certain punishment for Antonio Brown. Bruce Arians is like, oh, time's up. Let's keep it rolling.
I'm respecting Bruce Arians in this moment right now. Actually, I agree with you in this sense that this is the Bruce Arians we should have heard all along. Actually, I disagree with the Bruce Arians a year ago who said he makes one mistake, he's out of here. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? This is why in this world you should never talk in extremes and absolutes. Measure your words. You know why? Because your needs change your wants. And a lot of times in this world, we talk from a position of want. We talk from a position high on the hog. Oh, that bacon tastes good. You ever been low on the hog? That's when you ain't getting bacon no more. It's chitlins. You know what I'm saying? And the whole house stink. And Bruce Arians looking around, looking at that receiver room, he's like, that house stinks right there. That room stinks because there are injuries or they're absent. So now he looks at it differently, as you're supposed to look at it. Your needs changes because of your wants. Now, since you're looking at it correctly, I want everyone to understand what Bruce Arians went through in terms of metamorphosis. Football players, we all fight this whole stigma of being meat and potato heads, right? You meatheads, you dumb jocks. I fought it so hard, I went to a damn nerd school just to make sure y'all didn't call me that for the rest of my life. Hard as hell in that school, too. I don't know what I was doing. Point being, we try to fight that. So sometimes when we're sitting there talking about what's on our plate, we start talking about the veggies. And Bruce Arians a year ago was talking veggie talk. That's veggie talk. Well, you know, we like choir boys of high character, and if you mess up one time, you're out of here. And then he looked around and realized, one, damn, who was I talking about? Antonio Brown is not just a normal receiver, valuable, even at this stage in his career. We already know he has a resume that's a Hall of Fame resume. Let's talk about Antonio Brown as a buck. 16 games, so that's an old school full season. 82 catches, 982 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And he came mid-season. Y'all better put some respect on this dude's name. He is valuable to this team. So I just laugh when people just make these declarations, these statements, and they're always in these absolutes, like, life wouldn't change, information wouldn't change, value wouldn't change. Respect for Bruce Arians for now being in a position he should have started in.
I also agree on that, everything you said right there, but I don't think Bruce Arians even lied, Sel. I think Bruce Arians told his truth in the moment.
You think so? Let's talk
in the moment, a year ago, I do believe Bruce Arians was like, one strike, Antonio Brown's out of here. Fair. Gronk is there. Mike Evans is there. Godwin is there. Fournette's there. Ronald Jones is there. So he's like, Antonio Brown is the whipped cream. He's the icing on the cake. He is not the cake.
Gotcha.
But the truth in this moment is that Antonio Brown is legitimately the cake. The fact of the matter is, you look around, Mike Evans is hurt and hobbled. You look around, Chris Godwin is out. You look around, Rob Gronkowski does not look the same. So you need Antonio Brown. Bruce Arians is just reassessed the situation. And after furthering his assessment, he's like, yo, we have to have AB if we even want to get somewhere in the playoffs. It's kind of like, you know, us as analysts, people will always clap at us. Oh, that's a terrible take, Acho. They'll see something you said 3 months ago, something I said 3 months ago, and, oh, you sound like an idiot. No. We were speaking with the evidence we had at the time.
Good point.
And the evidence at the time led us to make this sort of declaration. The evidence Bruce Arians had at the time led him to make that declaration.
Okay.
The evidence Bruce Arians has at this point in time leads him to make another declaration. I'm just glad at least he has been honest with this declaration as opposed to lying about it all.
Let's have some verbal sparring up here now because we found a point of contention and we about to talk that talk. So Bruce Arians didn't know the value of Antonio Brown, but took a risk for Antonio Brown, but then said go to the plate and play baseball with one strike? Really? Does that add up? Is that baseball? No, that ain't baseball. Is that the value of Antonio Brown? No, it's not because he was a Hall of Famer coming to you. Does it make sense to even say that, even if that's the reality? No, that's playing your cards wrongly. That's playing your hand the wrong way. So it doesn't make sense to me. I understand what you're saying. But I think he got caught up in grandstanding. This is what happens when you grandstand. You forget that you got to also get off that stand and be around the grand masses. And the masses are full of flaws, full of flawed people. And you have one on your team. Actually, you have many, but this is the one we're going to speak on. A football coach should always keep football as their top and only priority and concern. What happens in this world today, because football coaches are more CEOs than they are football coaches, is they start to get into the marketing. They start to get into the PR. They started to get into the human resources. They started to get into lanes that they're not for. Therefore, a football sideline and to keep their focus on football. So what happens is when you grandstand, you start getting into situations where we only criticize when we're not focused on the prize, and it rhymes for a reason. Bruce Arians started to criticize Antonio Brown because he wasn't focused fully on what Antonio Brown was going to bring, which was catches and touchdown passes. Would you tell a guy who has a Hall of Fame resume and who's going to come to your team and give you 1,000 yards in one season and 10 touchdowns, you got one strike? Where they do that at? We played the game. Matter of fact, let's talk it in story form. When one of my teammates, I ain't gonna say his name, Ted Washington, he was asleep in the room. He used to sleep at every meeting. He was so good. He probably already did film study. I don't know. But he was asleep. And he big, like his nickname was Mount Washington. So when your nickname's Mount Washington, let's just say you snore louder than most, right? So we in the film session, and you know film session is quiet. We don't get the broadcast copy. It's silent video and coach talking. But coach can't talk because Ted is snoring. So then we're sitting there as youngsters like, yo, not only wake Ted up, but discipline Ted. Yo, this is crazy. And coach went over to Ted, and he looked at him, and we was like, oh, coach is about to go in on Ted. You know what he did? Kind of rubbed his foot just slowly, just to make sure he gently woke up, not disturbing, right? Meanwhile, I don't know, fast forward a couple of weeks or months, I got caught slipping a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? Wow! I'm like, what the hell? Hey, Wiley, no sleeping in our meetings. And the first thing I thought of was like, well, Ted. But you know what? I wasn't giving what Ted was giving to the team. So I didn't expect to get back and discipline what Ted would get. Why would a coach, knowing he got a Hall of Famer who's going to give him these amount of catches, ever come out and grandstand like that?
So, because I don't think it's about AB's talent level. I think the operative issue here is the Bucs need. It's not so much about AB's talent. Okay. Because last year you had, as talented as AB was, you still had a plethora of talent on the roster without AB. But this year, even with AB, with all these injuries, rather, you need AB. I don't think AB's talent is really what's dictating these terms right now. It's the Bucs' need.
Don't you always need talent?
Yeah, but you can not have enough because it's the NFL. You can never have enough talent.
Yeah.
But there is also a law of diminishing returns with talent. I'll talk more about that term later. But there is having we have enough running backs. We have enough receivers. We have enough talented quarterbacks on our roster. The Ravens at this point don't really need another quarterback. They've proven Lamar Jackson can ball, Tyler Huntley can ball. You don't really need another quarterback.
Okay.
When I look at it, so it's kind of like right now, I got an old school laptop, then your boy had to get a MacBook, then I had to get an iPad. Right?
Old school laptop?
I got an old school joint.
What
like
you got?
Not a Mac joint. I don't even know what it is.
What is it, a Commodore?
Maybe. I think it's like an Asus, something like that, right? So I have my laptop, but then during all these Zooms, you got to get you a Mac. You might as well. Then I have my iPad. When I be prepping, my old school laptop, it'll clunk out. Right, it'll clunk. Now, mind you, still has done so much good for me, but it'll clunk out. I'll be looking at that laptop, shut it, throw it away. Let me just use my Macs and my iPads to prep my notes. But then, Sal,
what?
There will be the occasional morning when my Mac is dead.
Your Mac dead too?
Mac dead, boy.
Where the hell you living?
iPad dead.
Oh, God.
And now I'm stuck with the laptop. So it's not so much, it really has nothing to do with the laptop. It has more to do with like, what do I have at my disposal around me that dictates the value of the other item? I think when I look at the Bucs, it's what do they have at their disposal around them that dictates the value of Antonio Brown? It doesn't so much, in my mind, have to do with Antonio Brown because the Bucs were sitting at, what are they, 10-4 without AB? Yeah. So the Bucs are doing okay without him, and they just lost last game, so they were sitting at 10-3 without AB. Mind you, they haven't had AB since week 6, so they were sitting pretty without AB. But now, what do they have at their disposal? They look around. Everybody else gone. You need AB.
Hella got in my ear said that laptop could take the top off that defense, too. So you better not throw that damn laptop away, AB. You better log on to AB. We always talk track and field on this show, and we always talk relationships on this show. Let's talk relationships this time. Because you just gave me a bunch of single statements, and I can see why you still in them streets, strong in them streets, too. You like the boulevard. You like the stoplight. Like, you like the sign, Acho Boulevard, because you in them streets. Me, happily married, but it ain't always happy times. Let's talk about it. Because when you're single, you start doing things like this. I don't know what stage of single you in, but I remember when I went to the first stage of single where I actually described what I was looking for. Ignorant. So this tall, this educated, this looking from here, likes this. And then you start going out and be like, that box is hard to check with that box. you start be playing out there. It's like Connect Four, but you can't get them all together, right? So you're like, all right, let me start remixing this single statement, right? I know you're there. You're somewhere on this process, in this process. Let's talk about those statements you make. One strike and you're out of here. Oh, if a woman ever does this to me, man, peace. And then get married. And married reality is different than single statements by a long shot. Let me tell you why. Because you accept more. You accept stuff that you said you would never accept. You know why? Because you love them more. How about this, Bruce Arians? Just say it. Damn, Antonio Brown didn't change my mind. Not just in talent, not just in performance, but damn it, I like him more than I thought I would. He's married to Antonio Brown, in part because Antonio Brown threw it on him. He threw them, how many catches? 82. 1,000 yards. You can look at me. 10 touchdowns in one full season. Oh, Antonio Brown has proven who he is. And more importantly, in the history of the game, do you know that Antonio Brown sits behind just Jerry Rice, beast, Julian Edelman, who is postseason Hall of Fame, Michael Irvin, Travis Kelce, and Larry Fitzgerald? They're all there in terms of games over 100 yards and, more importantly, the team's record. Antonio Brown's been valuable. I think now Bruce Arians got to realize from what you are to what I am, that once you're invested in something, things change dramatically. You got anything else to say about that? What I say? Something
Antonio Brown put it on him?
I mean, come on.